Hi everyone, I'm Callie Kim. Welcome to my garden. A lot of gardeners I've been talking to on our YouTube live streams, on Instagram, have been sharing with me how frustrated you are that you're not getting production from your squash, cucumbers, and melon. Well, today I'm going to share with you why this happens and how to get a lot more squash, cucumbers, and melon than you could possibly eat with a simple tip called hand pollination. Let me show you how this works. First of all, how do you even know if you have a pollination issue? Well, the first thing to look for, it's like on this squash plant here, is if you're seeing a lot of flowers but no fruit formation. This means a couple of different things. Either you have only male flowers, which we have here. The male flower is attached to the plant just by a stem, and you don't see any fruit developing. So that's the first thing to look for. The other way that you know you have a pollination issue is if you do have female flowers that are open, but the fruit isn't developing and is just shriveling and dying off, like this one is here. Here I've got a nice little zucchini fruit, and the female flower has totally shriveled up, and the fruit is getting kind of soft and soon will drop off. The reason why this lack of pollination happens are due to a number of reasons. There's a big decline in bee populations right now due to pesticides, habitat loss, and disease, and bees are the primary pollinators for squash, cucumbers, and melons, also called cucurbits. The other reason can be because of changing weather conditions, either too hot, too cold, or too rainy. During those particular times, bees aren't as active. The other reason is because cucurbits need two separate flowers to pollinate, both a male and a female, which can make it challenging, as opposed to tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant, which only need one flower. So let me show you my tomato flower and you'll see what I mean. Tomato flowers are so much easier to pollinate because they're what's called self-fertile or self-pollinating. They have all their sexual reproductive organs in one flower. Now I know, sounds like junior high health education class, right? So all you have to do is simply gently shake the plant to move the pollen around. They don't need pollinating by bees, or the wind can do the job for you. Or you can use an electric toothbrush to kind of vibrate the stem. And that's a great way to hand pollinate your tomatoes and get more fruit. The thing with cucurbits, because you need two different flowers, sometimes there's an imbalance. You get more male flowers, those pop up first about 2 to 3 weeks sooner than the female flowers, as in this plant here. We've got tons of male flowers all over this plant. Flower, closed flower with just a stem, that's a male flower. Look at all these male flowers on here and no female flowers yet. Reproduction can't just occur with the males. We need these female flowers to pop out so we can get little babies. The other factor that can affect pollination is the timing. Now, cucurbits like to party in the morning and nap by noon. So here we've got a problem. Our cucurbit flowers, our squash flowers, are all closed. We've got a female flower here, but it's closed. We've got a male flower here, but it's closed. So no pollination is going to occur by the bees today on this plant because they can't get to the pollen within the flowers. Now we are out here early in the morning, but some mornings they just aren't open. The flowers have to be open in order for pollination to occur. So no pollination is going to happen today on these squash. Sometimes you got to help the bees out. I've got some nice open flowers up on my deck. I'll show you how to hand pollinate now. Hand pollination is a very easy technique that you can use to get way more cucurbits than you could ever possibly eat. Even if you have bees, it's a good idea so that you get a lot more production. The first thing to do is look for a plant with two open flowers, both a male flower and a female flower. And the flowers are only open in the very early morning. So get out there early with your cup of coffee and have a pollination party. So let me show you what I mean. There's a perfect example here on this plant. We've got a beautiful male flower that's open with lots of pollen inside. And you can tell it's a male flower again by taking a look at the stem. You can see how it's attached to the plant by a stem only. Now the male flower has the male parts on the inside, that's called the stamen. The tip is loaded with pollen. Now the flower is only good for about 2 to 3 days and it shrivels up and dies, so you definitely want to get it at its peak. And here we have a female flower that's not open yet. We've got the little tiny fruit, the flower, and then attached to the plant. So this one is not going to work for hand pollination. Now here's a little interesting thing that happened here. There's a few male flowers in my pot here that have dried up and fallen off. So case in point, why you have to get the flowers at their peak. Now I'm just going to spin my 15-gallon smart pot here. And one reason why it's really important to prune your squash and grow them vertically is also so the pollinators can see the flowers better, so go back and watch my pruning squash video for all the info on how to do that. But here we have an absolutely gorgeous female flower, wide open. Got the beautiful open flower, lots of pollen inside on the stigma. This is ripe and ready for pollination by the male. I know, health class again, right? Now you need your pollinating tool. I like to use a little cosmetic brush with a soft tip or a cotton swab, but my tool of choice is this makeup brush. So what I'm gonna do now is dab my cosmetic brush on the stamen of the male flower, and you do wanna handle the flowers very, very gently because they bruise very easily. So I'm gonna dab the end of my soft brush here on the stamen to collect the pollen. This is a nice loaded down flower here. Look at all that beautiful pollen on the end. So I'm gonna very gently dab the stigma to transfer the pollen. It kind of has a sticky surface. I'm gonna turn the brush around to make sure I get all the pollen transferred. You can use the pollen from one male flower on several female flowers, and you also may want to repeat this process a couple of days in a row to make sure that pollination happens. Now, I do like to take advantage of those male flowers, so what I'm going to do is cut this one off, pop it in a baggie, and save it in the fridge tomorrow so I can use it for a second pollination. You'll know your pollination is successful when this squash begins to grow, and that's always exciting. But as long as this flower is open, keep dabbing the pollen from the male flower to the female flower so you have a good chance of success. And I always like to journal the days that I pollinate what in the Notes app on my phone, just so you can keep good track and monitor the progress. I also want to show you how to hand pollinate on cucumbers and melons, because it's a little bit different. The flowers are a whole lot smaller. So you can see here I've got lots and lots of male flowers on this plant. Stem only, no fruit. The top of the plant, stem only, no fruit. And there's flowers like this, male flowers all over the entire plant. Only a few female flowers, one of which you can see did not get pollinated and will abort or fall off soon. I've got one female flower right down at the bottom of the plant. The flower is just starting to dry up, so if I catch it today, I just might have a successful pollination attempt. Now for this, you want to use a different cosmetic brush than you use on your squash plants, or what I think is a whole lot easier, since I have a lot of male flowers, is just to pick the male flower and then carefully pull back the flower petals. You can even take off the flower petals. Just carefully pull them back so you're exposing the stamen. And then dab that stamen right onto the stigma of the female flower. You want to make sure the stamen and the stigma are actually touching. Close your eyes, kids, and then just transfer the pollen from the male flower to the female flower like so. If your small fruit begins to swell and grow, you know your pollination attempt has been successful. Since cantaloupe and watermelon flowers are about the same size as cucumbers, you can pollinate them in exactly the same way. Now this is a Market More cucumber from my cucumber seed collection. It's a monoecious variety, which means that it will produce both male and female flowers. However, if the plant is stressed in cases of extreme heat or if it gets a little bit too cold, it may produce only male flowers for a time being. So what can really help you bump up your cucumber production even more, so you have tons of cucumbers, more than you can possibly eat, is if you grow parthenocopic varieties. Here in my mini elevated raised bed, we have one of my favorite parthenocopic varieties, the Diva. What parthenocopic means is that it produces mostly female flowers and doesn't need pollination in order to set fruit. So come around back, it's kind of tucked away back here, and I'll show you this beautiful cucumber plant. I grew Diva cucumbers for the first time last year and had way more cucumbers than I could possibly eat. First, just let me say, the leaves are huge and just beautiful. And look at this plant, is absolutely loaded down with female flowers, just starting to develop. Got a tiny one here, and as you go down the plant, that's all it has, female flowers only, which means I'm going to be getting a ton of cucumbers. And I'm carrying this variety in my cucumber seed collection for the first time for a limited time only. And go to my seed shop on my website to pick some up. They're thin-skinned, delicious, perfect for slicing and fresh eating. Besides the parthenocopic varieties, you'll also want to grow some gynaeceous varieties, which produce more male flowers than female flowers, and also choose some varieties with high disease resistance. Drop me a comment below. Let me know if you're going to give hand pollination a try. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden.